Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Preview Show, Week 15. A very interesting week of Week 15. Lots of fixtures. We've got games Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So for the NFL fan, it's great. We've already got 2 games in the book, Adam. Let's quickly, briefly talk about them. Thursday night saw a very close matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers.
Yeah, pretty mental matchup, really. I mean, I said to you before in the fantasy show that we did, I think some of the play calling from the Chargers was a bit iffy. The fact that Brandon Staley comes out after the game and just says, well, that's what we do, is not really the greatest of coaching in my book. But yeah, I feel like they should have won that game.
Yeah, it was it went to overtime, real good game. I think Steve Spagnuolo's done a real good job with the Kansas City defense and turning it around from what it was at the start of the year. They actually look like an actual defense now, which is absolutely incredible from what we saw at the start of the season. So, yeah, I think when their defense is playing as well as it is now, Mahomes looks better. You know, nothing's changed on the offense from when Mahomes was poor, other than the fact the defense are playing better. So,
yeah, I suppose it's given him more time, isn't it?
He's not playing from behind all the time, is he?
Yeah.
Which I think we addressed ages ago. It was the issue, but yeah, they're looking quite dangerous now. And then last night's game, if anybody stayed up and watched it, was the New England Patriots at the Indianapolis Colts. What an interesting one that was.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts are becoming that sneaky good team. It's like, I remember saying last year that I felt that the defense was in the right place but the offense maybe not. And it feels like that they've managed to really get Jonathan Taylor going a lot more than what they did last year. Carson Wentz, I feel, is a slight upgrade on Phillip Rivers. And I think just in general, they're looking sneaky good, and no one's going to want to play them in the playoffs.
No, not now. They've beat the Patriots, which no one could really get near it recently. So, yeah, I mean, they're a team that I've all season said I've been really impressed with. Start of the season, they struggled with their O-line and it was a bit of a mess. But once they got it clicking, they looked real good. And I don't think their record really does them justice with how well they've been playing. I think they've missed out on a couple of games that they should have won. No, there was the Baltimore game. Obviously, they were well in the lead and should never have lost that. But yeah, there's a few games I feel like they should have won, and they should have a better record than what they've got. So yeah, if they do clinch a spot in the playoffs, and it's going to be through the wild card, if they don't catch the Titans, then you wouldn't want to play them.
I could see them catching the Titans though.
Yeah,
like, there's not that much difference there anymore, so I could see that happening.
So that could be interesting because, yeah, I rate them. I think they've got, like I said, they've got good O-line, good defense, good weapons on offense. You know, they've got all the ability. Frank Reich's good, so all the ability to take it into the playoffs and better. So, but we move on to today's fixtures, and we'll start off with the Carolina Panthers at the Buffalo Bills.
So, to be honest with this one, I had a look at it. I think the Bills are going to win it. I think they'll probably win it quite comfortably. They've got to bounce back. They're reaching a point where it's almost like if they don't bounce back, they're going to be in serious trouble. And they kind of got that added bit of enthusiasm now because that motivation with the Patriots losing last night. I just think the Bills are too good for the Panthers, really, especially the Panthers offense. It's just not really happening. Last week they struggled a little bit against the Falcons, which, you know, the Falcons defense is not great, and they struggled against them at times. We don't know if Cam Newton's going to end up playing the whole game or not, like last week. Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills will win it. There isn't a particularly strong bet at all, other than that I think the Bills will win it. I don't know if they'll necessarily cover the spread, but I think they'll win it reasonably comfortably.
Yeah, they need to win it as well because they're being caught by the Bengals, the Browns, the Broncos, the Steelers. You know, if they don't top that group, there's lots of teams on their heels waiting to steal that 7th spot. So The Carolina Panthers, I thought I'd see more out of them last week when they played the Falcons. I had them to beat the Falcons, and that didn't happen. It was a bit of a mess for Carolina, to be fair. 1 minute Cam Newton was in, 1 minute he was out, then he was back in. They put PJ Walker in, I think, on a red zone play, and I'm confused because obviously dual threat of Cam Newton running. So I'm just not sure what's really going on with their offense, really.
I don't think they know.
And they didn't get it going against the Falcons, so you're not going to get it going against the Bills, because there's no doubt that the Bills' defense is impressive. It's the run game that lets them down. Their defense would just be way too strong for Carolina. They could probably win with just kicking field goals in this one. So, I've got no doubt that the Bills will win this quite comfortably. Our next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, again, I feel another one where the team, like the Cardinals, are just so much better than the Lions at the moment. The Lions, the one thing the Lions have got going for them is that they will give it a go. They will try, but I feel that there's only so much that's going to work, and a team like the Cardinals are much better. One thing I would say, ranked 28th against the run, the Lions. James Conner has done really well. For your fantasy team, Conner has done really well this year. He's 4 to 5 anytime. Chase Edmonds as well is another one who's come back off the IR, so he's worth looking at. But I do feel that Conner, I know he's missed a bit of practice, but he is scheduled to start. I think I would be looking at Conner in this one.
I mean, even when Edmonds and Conner played through the first few weeks together, Conner was the red zone guy. He was used in all the red zone plays. So, Edmonds was kind of used in the middle of the field for the checkdowns and the screen plays and things like that. So, he's going to get used even if he's not fully fit. He'll still get used in those important situations. So, fully agree with that. And Detroit, you say they'll give it a go, but they haven't got DeAndre Swift again.
No,
he's out again, and without him, they don't look as much of a threat as they did when they played in some of their earlier games. He just adds so much for them, and we know that Jared Goff can't play when there's no run game. He's proved that everywhere he's been. So, Cardinals should win this fairly comfortably. Detroit will somehow manage to put points on the board, though. They've managed to do that, but Arizona way too strong in this. So, I'm sticking with that. Next game up is the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins.
So, I mean, the Jets have, as I've said pretty much all season, the Jets have been the Jets. 30th against the run, 27th against the pass. So pretty much you can go for anything really to go against them, because they're not good enough. The Dolphins have been on a bit of a run before the bye. They've looked decent. Obviously, they've lost Jalen Waddle due to COVID. He's out. So that's a big loss for them and a big target for Tua. I think that Gesicki is going to be the obvious target. He normally is, but I think he will be even more so this time. He's 10 to 13 for over 46.5 yards. I think that's something that you could see happening quite easily. If you're looking for something a little bit bigger, I quite like Albert Wilson. He's the speed guy, with Waddle out. So you kind of feel like he's going to be around. He's 9 to 2 anytime. I wouldn't suggest putting it in your multiples because I don't think he's going to get loads of touches, but he's the obvious choice to replace Waddle. So I could see that happening. But to be honest, I think you could go for many bets in this one because you're going up against the Jets. Myles Gaskin's back, Salvon Ahmed's back. So, Gaskin, you kind of feel like he should be getting a touchdown, but you never know with Gaskin. There's quite a few, but I think the Dolphins will win it quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's a 5-game win streak, isn't it, for the Dolphins before the bye week? The bye week, as listening to a lot of the players that have been playing off their bye week, said it was really nice to have it late in the season because you really get a chance to rest. When you have it earlier in the year, you've got that all the way through to the playoffs. So I think that's quite beneficial for them to get healthy and get players back. And one of those players that's benefited from it is going to be Devontae Parker as well, who managed to come back for the Giants game. I think he caught 5 of 5 for 62 yards. So, if he can play up to his potential that we know he's done in the past, he could fill in for their loss of Waddle as well. Like I said, he's had the bye week to get even more healthy. So I think he might be a bit of a danger in that one for them. And again, I just think it's all to play for them. They're one game back off of the Bills. So you're definitely chasing that down, aren't you? They're not out. They're not out of it. So this is a real good turnaround. So momentum carries them into a divisional game as well. So they're going to be up for it. So I've got the Dolphins winning it quite comfortably as well. Next up is big rivalry game. It's the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants.
Yeah, I know your Giants are at home, but they're struggling so much. It's not fun to watch and it's not fun to watch someone who's not a fan. So I can't imagine what it's like for a fan. I think the Cowboys will win it. We went with Amari Cooper last week. I think he was 15-8 this last week. He's 6-4 this week. I think he's another one who's got a good chance. It feels almost like it's changed with the defenses. It's like they're marking CeeDee Lamb out of it more, and they're kind of a bit more willing to leave Amari Cooper alone a bit more. So I think Cooper at 6-4 is a good bet for that one. I think the Cowboys offensively will just be that little bit too strong. And also, I just think that with the Giants at the moment, there's still so many unknowns. I mean, is Daniel Jones back yet?
Nope, still out.
So it's Glennon again.
Unfortunately,
So it's Glennon again. You kind of know what you're going to get, and unfortunately, that's not a lot. So a lot of it's going to come down to Barkley, and the Cowboys' defense isn't actually that bad. So I think the Cowboys.
Yeah, we showed signs of playing semi-decent at the start of last week's game and at the end of last week's game, but in the middle we created absolutely nothing, and we only created stuff at the end because we were too far out of it anyway, and they didn't mind conceding a touchdown. Just take some time off. I'm not sure why we're sticking with Glennon when you've got Jake Fromm on the bench that could come in and just see what he can do. Why not risk it? What have you got to lose? If anything, losing at this point isn't bad for us. Those picks at the start of the draft will be massive. We're currently sitting in a good place at the moment with, I think, 5th and 6th pick in the draft. So it's no loss for me. I can't see us getting to the playoffs and challenging in the playoffs. So
no. It's weird, isn't it? It's a strange one. They obviously feel that he's not capable. They're obviously not confident enough in him. Otherwise, they would start him and give him a go. But
well, he's only been there 2 weeks, hasn't he? Two and a half weeks. So he might not have picked the playbook up sufficiently enough. But we've seen enough from Glennon to go, well, that's not replacing Dan Jones, is it? So who knows? But Dallas have had their offensive issues recently. They haven't looked quite as explosive and dynamic as they did at the start of the season. It is one of those. I think if we had Dan Jones, I'd say this is one of those games that anyone could win because it's a divisional game. I've seen the Cowboys being the best team in this league, and Eli Manning going in there and beating them. So it should be a Dallas win, but I'm sticking with the Giants just because I can't pick the Cowboys to beat us, and just hope they've got that fight. The defense has got the fight to turn the ball over and get us some good position. So I'm going to go with the Giants still. Next game is the Tennessee Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This really hard one. This one. Didn't really know where to go. One thing I would say is I do like the over in this one, strangely enough. I do think that there will be points in this game. The over is 42.5, so at 10-11, I think that's not a bad bet. The Steelers' defense has been really bad against the run. They're ranked 31st at the moment against it. And Donta Foreman for the Titans is the main guy at 7-4 is not a bad price anytime. So I think that he is one that's worth having a look at. I think I'm going to go for the Titans just because they seem to be getting over the line, whereas for the Steelers seem to be struggling and they're giving up big leads as well. That's something that they seem to be doing quite a bit. And although they're coming back, it just doesn't feel like a good place at the moment. So I think the Titans for this one.
Yeah, having watched the Steelers the last couple of weeks and seen them have struggle to defend the run, that was a bit of a concern. But although the Titans are set up to be a run-first team, so that O-line is a run-blocking team, I'm just not convinced by the runners at the Titans without Henry. I've seen Foreman disappear in some of the games and not even be a factor at all, and then go off and rest on the bench and let Hillard play. So it's a must win. It's a must win for the Steelers. They've got to stay in this race. It's at home as well. The offense, when it gets going, has been great. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Steelers to win this one. Just their defense is strong, and like I said, it's only struggled against the top runners. So Steelers to win.
I mean, I hope they do in a way, because I think it would make it more exciting going into the last few games if they could get this win, and also it'd make it more exciting for the Titans Colts as well. So just in general, you kind of want the Steelers to win this one, but I just feel with everything that's going on there, it's not great at the moment, and it's like I say, the Titans aren't going to put up a lot of points, but I feel that they're going to put up enough, and I don't know with the Steelers and everything that's going on. That's the thing that makes me nervous.
Well, as long as they just get Claypool to catch the ball, put it back down on the floor, and get back in line, they're all right. It'll be fine.
That is true.
We move on to the most exciting game of the week: the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, just a weird. I mean, they're both out, aren't they now?
Yeah.
So it's completely just nothing to play for. I think the Jaguars are going to take this because I think they're going to want to show what they can do now that Urban Meyer's gone. I think they're going to be angry, and I think because of that they'll win it. When it comes to betting on it, the Texans are 32nd against the run. They cannot get any worse. That's how bad they are. Robinson, I think Bevel came out and said that they're actually going to use him as a proper running back for all of it, and 21-20, he's part of the bet that I've put out. Anytime, I think he's a very good shout. And the other one that I kind of looked at as a bit of a punt, a bit of a bigger price, O'Shaughnessy. The Texans are awful against the tight end. He's 9-2 anytime, so he tends to be the one who's out there the most. But there's also Jacob Hollister as well, I think he's like 11-1 for any time touchdown. And like I say, they struggle against the tight end. Hollister showed with the Seahawks last year or the year before that he can play. He's not bad. But yeah, there's a couple of big ones in there, but definitely like Robinson for this one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Trevor Lawrence manages this game now. Bevel's in charge of the offense. Well, he was in charge of the offense before, but as the head coach, whether they'll let Lawrence have a bit more of a say and a role, and just tell him to go out there and play like he did at Clemson. I don't know, but I'd like to see a bit more of what we saw from him at college, because he looks a bit subdued and not really himself, and making really bad decisions that we didn't see him make in college. I know it's a different game, but I'd also like to see a bit more of, he's a freakishly good athlete. I wouldn't mind seeing him using a bit more of the play action and using his feet a bit more as well, getting outside. So yeah, it could be interesting. I think we might see a different Jags in this game. It's in Jacksonville as well. Again, like you said, I think they've got a point to prove now. I think there's a lot of those players that are starting to come out and say how much, Urban Meyer was affecting them. So they're going to want to come out and prove him that was the right decision to let him go. So I'm going to stick with the Jags in this game. Houston got nothing to lose either, but it'd be a close one. I just favour the Jags slightly just because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Next game up is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. Are you sticking with your Bengals that you have all year?
Yeah, I've stuck with them all year, haven't I? I feel like I need to stick with them just to keep it going. I do like the Bengals for this game. I think the problem with the Broncos is the quarterback. They're just not getting enough points on the board, and the Bengals defense has been okay. It's not been amazing, but it's been all right. But it is pretty good against the run, and that is one of the main things that the Broncos have with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Joe Mixon all the time. I mean, he's scored 8 out of the last 10 games. He's 11-10, so he's not a bad shout. The Bengals are actually, if you look at the spread, they've got a 3-point advantage at the moment as well. So, I mean, if you wanted to take that or go for the win, there's 7-5 for the win. I think it's going to be very tight. You've got two teams who are pretty close to each other in the same conference as well, both fighting it out for a wild card spot. So I think it'll be really interesting, probably one of the more interesting games. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the Bengals.
Yeah, I like this fixture as well. They're two teams that I've really liked this season. I don't want to say underrated, but they're two that have sort of like slipped under the radar because they're not as consistent as some of the teams that are up there, but both having real good seasons and flashes of good football. It's a really even split for me. Like you say, the run game, Teddy Bridgewater should be doing more with those receivers that are there. It's 3 really talented receivers and a great tight end, and you can't say it's not being supported by the run game because that's the thing for the Broncos. But equally, it's the same for the Bengals, isn't it? They've got 3 very talented wide receivers, and their tight end's pretty decent as well. Run game is working. I think the Broncos' defense is better. I think they've got the edge on that. I think this game could go to overtime. It could be one of those ones where we're staying up past midnight watching overtime again. So it's happened to the Bengals quite a few times. I'm gonna stick with the Bengals as well. Just think Joe Burrow's got a bit more about him to go out there and win it if it is a close game over Teddy Bridgewater, who's just steady Teddy. And I think Burrow will get them over the line just from that fight alone. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Bengals too. Next game is the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I feel the 49ers in this one are just going to be too strong for the Falcons. The Falcons' defense is not great. They have improved a little bit on the offense. I think they have shown a few more signs. They definitely showed a few more signs against the Panthers last week. But I feel the 49ers, they need to win to keep themselves in the conversation. George Kittle, every time. George Kittle, now that he's fit. Jimmy G is going to be constantly aiming for him. He's 11-10, anytime touchdown. Over 69.5 yards. He's 10-11 as well. I mean, he's had back-to-back games of 150 yards. I'd be amazed if he doesn't hit 69.5 yards in this game, because I think it's the same thing again. It's like Deebo Samuel's there, and Brandon Ayuk's there now a bit more as well. But I just feel that Kittle is the safety net, and Jimmy G is not that big time thrower. He never has been. And so I think that Kittle is probably the guy who's going to get a lot of action. And so, yeah, I think they'll just be too strong, especially with that defense as well.
Yeah, I think Kittle's, if anything, their main receiver. Deebo Samuel's more of a Swiss Army knife, sort of like big play, use him in the run quite a lot. Just a dynamic player to have on your team, whereas Kittle is like the go-to receiver, isn't it? Your third downs, things like that. He's your guy you get looking at. Falcons are a really weird one for me because some weeks they're great and some weeks they're really bad.
Yeah.
And that comes from Matt Ryan as well. Some weeks, he's going up against Tampa and he's thrown for 300 yards and touchdowns and looking good. And then he plays the Panthers and didn't look great. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. Russell Gage seems to be connected really nice with him now. Seems to be his main target. San Francisco aren't the best team. I think they're ranked 23rd, aren't they? Their secondary against the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts might be used a bit more now. Russell Gage looks like an actual wide receiver one. Cordell Patterson's fit as well, isn't he? Always looks dangerous. But yeah, the 49ers, is Mitchell fit? Is he playing? Is he out?
I think he is, isn't he? I think he's meant to be.
Because when he doesn't play, Jeff Wilson.
But you've got Jeff Wilson and JaMycal Hasty.
Yeah, I mean, Hasty didn't play. I think he caught the ball once last week, but wasn't used in the run game at all. And Jeff Wilson, although previous years, last year when he was fit and he looked like he could be the main RB1 for them. Since he's been back and Mitchell's been injured, he hasn't really stepped up to the plate. He's not really got anything going. He's not looked as explosive as he did before. So if that's the case, I'd watch out for the Falcons in this one. I think that they could be quite dangerous.
I think offensively they do have the chance to do it. I just feel like that 49ers defense is just a step above, and that's probably what will see them through. I know they've struggled in the secondary a bit, but a lot of that has been because of injuries, and now they've sort of come back. So I think they probably will just be that bit too much. But yeah, the Falcons, like you say, you never really know. So they could do anything.
But equally saying that, I think if they are struggling with the run game, they'll just play Deebo Samuel at running back, and he'll get 85 yards rushing like I've seen him do. So yeah, I agree. I think the San Francisco 49ers are too strong. I'm just worried about the Falcons, of which Falcons will turn up. So but yeah, I'm going to stick with the 49ers for that one. The last one of the late games, I'm sure you'll be watching, is the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Packers are going to win this again. I mean, we don't know what's going on with Lamar Jackson. Apparently it's a bone bruise is what the problem is. Whether he's going to play or not, no one really seems to know at the moment. I think it was trending that he was going to play earlier in the week, and now we don't quite know. The one thing that I can tell you, the Ravens are ranked 31st against the pass. I think Devontae Adams is going to have an absolute field day today. 5 to 6 anytime. He's part of the bet that I put out along with James Robinson and one other that I'll tell you later. And also MVS as well, I think has got a good chance, over the top. I can see that 21 to 10 anytime. So I think he's a good shout. And I feel pretty confident with the Packers. They're in a good place and they're getting players back. And there's talk about Jair Alexander playing because he's back in training now. Bakhtiari's back in training. I don't know if he's going to play in this one, but he's trending towards coming back. The spread's -6.5 at 5 to 6. I could see them, especially if Lamar Jackson's not out there, I could see that happening relatively easily. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Packers.
Yeah. When are we going to start talking about the fact that Aaron Rodgers should probably be the MVP? When's that going to start being brought up?
So I think that probably won't happen because of Brady.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is ranked first in all categories, isn't he, for quarterbacks at the moment?
I think Brady's got more touchdowns, isn't he?
Yeah, possibly, but I think touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he's better for that. Yeah.
Quarterback rating, completion percentage. I think he's first in most of the main categories.
I don't think that Rodgers will get it. Maybe due to other issues.
I mean, for me, I honestly believe. I think at the moment he's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Brady is the GOAT, and he is like a phenomenal quarterback. But for me, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league right now. I think what he's done last year and this year is just incredible. I think he needs to start being spoke about a bit more for that MVP shout. And yeah, that him and his team look really strong. And without Lamar Jackson, Baltimore are average. They're still able to put points up on the board. They're still able to play, but they're just, you can read them better. You've not got that worry of blitzing and then Lamar Jackson getting away and running up the field or throwing the ball or finding some space. It's just a bit more, they're a bit more predictable. So yeah, I think Green Bay are way too strong. So yeah, I think they'll win it quite comfortably. Yeah, fingers crossed Aaron Rodgers starts getting spoken about a bit more. I just generally feel like, people only ever talk about Kyler Murray, Tom Brady, Josh Allen. No one seems to be talking about him too much.
I think everyone likes to see someone else win it, don't they? Like after someone's won it that year, they want to see someone else win it the next year. And I think that's probably partly what it is. And also it kind of feels like the offense hasn't been quite as strong as what it has been in previous years, mainly because he hasn't had to be. It's like the run game has improved as well. So I think these are the reasons probably why he's not being spoken about as much. So
we move on to the late game. It's the New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone with a pretty strict rule when it comes to the Bucs. When they play at home, they win, and that seems to happen. So I'm not going to change now. They struggle against the Saints, though. They do have trouble against them sometimes.
Well, they've already lost them this year, haven't they?
Yeah, but I think at home against the Saints, I can definitely see the over 45.5. I think that'll come off. I think the Saints will probably get a few more points than what people are thinking. And Gronk is one that I like, 6-4 anytime. I think he's always one to look at. But yeah, I think the Bucs will just be that bit too strong for the Saints.
Yeah, they're not gonna lose to them again, are they? The Saints have still got issues. They're still not settled on a quarterback properly. They're still not got their full wide receiving core available. There's just too many things going on there to go up against the Buccaneers. It's enough to play some of the lesser teams and get a victory, but it's just not enough when you're coming up against the Buccaneers. They're just a great outfit in all positions. Offense, defense, special teams. It's stacked, and I just don't think the Saints with their issues is going to be able to manage that. So yeah, I'm sticking with the Bucs in this one. I think it'd be quite comfortable, quite a steady win. Can't see a big shock in that one really. So we move on to a bit of Monday Night Football, and it's are these both the moved fixtures? It's the Raiders at the Browns.
Yeah, so the Raiders Browns has been moved. I think, isn't there talk about it being like a 10 o'clock our time, I think, or something like that?
10 p.m. our time, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really difficult. You just don't know who's going to play. This is the problem with these ones at the moment. There's no betting for any of the player props out at the moment or anything like that. All I can tell you is the Raiders are ranked 26th against the run. So if Nick Chubb plays, get on Nick Chubb. Yeah, it's a really difficult one. I think if the Browns have got Baker Mayfield back, no one really seems to know who's back or the timings of these things. Then I think that with him and Nick Chubb, I think the Browns would probably be okay for this. The Raiders just seem to be in that they're in free fall where they're just like they're doing what they always do. They're like I said last week, they're desperate for an 8-8 in a 17-game season. It's ridiculous what they're doing. So I don't know. I'm going to go for the Browns just because I think they're probably the better team, but obviously there's potentially a lot of players out. So
yeah, well, we've seen this year the Patriots win a game by not throwing it what did they throw it like 3 times?
Yeah.
And last night we saw the Colts win it and went through it 12 times, only completed 5. You know, this is a team that O-line is set up to protect the run. It's got Nick Chubb. Dearness Johnson has showed when he needed to fill in that he's good enough. They could just run the ball with those two and probably win this. You know, if you just pound at them all game with those two, they're going to find a hole eventually between the two of them. And yeah, I just think that's going to be too much for them, even if they don't. They've got a very good defense as well. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Browns too. Just lost Adam for a second there. I will stick around and try and talk about some of the games. I'll move on to the next game while we're waiting for him. It's the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Again, another big rivalry in this fixture. A lot more to play for the Vikings in this one than there is for the Bears. And the Vikings have looked like they've got all their pieces back together again, and they're a team that's kind of been playing a lot of football together over the last few years. And the Bears are in a bit of a restructure. The defense is very strong, but they're restructuring. They've only just got Montgomery back. Justin Fields is a rookie. The wide receiving core hasn't been together that long either. We haven't seen much from the players on that receiving core that we thought would come into Allen Robinson. Mooney's not been there every week. Whereas the Minnesota Vikings, for me, you know, Justin Jefferson's been firing on all cylinders. Even when we've seen that Adam Thielen's been out, you know, Justin Jefferson seems to be able to get into space no matter where it is on the field and get the ball. Even when the team's playing bad, he's racking up like 15 receptions, over 100 receiving yards. You know, Dalvin Cook, great running back, able to find the holes, adds a bit of extra, and Kirk Cousins just seems to steady the ship. I think I said last week, maybe the week before, that I thought Kirk Cousins has been very underrated this year. If you look at his stats, what he's achieved this year, bar that one game where he had through like 3 interceptions. I think prior to that, he'd only had 4 interceptions on the season, over 20 touchdowns. He's just been very, very consistent, and I feel like their record doesn't show how well he's been playing as a quarterback. And for those reasons, I'd definitely stick with the Vikings in this game. The Bears are, like I said, they're rebuilding for a future, and there is elements there that look like they could maybe produce the goods later down the line, but they're just not as far ahead in where they need to be than the Vikings. So I'm going to stick with the Vikings. We will move back to that game to find out Adam's thoughts. But yeah, we'll move on to the Tuesday fixtures. Oh, we might have Adam back. We have. He's back.
I'm back.
The whole chat about the Vikings versus the Bears. I went with the Vikings. You may repeat what I've said, but, you know, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Vikings for this one. I think they are just slightly stronger than what the Bears are. They've shown it all season. They're a bit stronger. Really like Dalvin Cook for this one as well. I think he seems to be healthy now. 4 to 5 anytime. He's the third one of the treble that I put out earlier. So yeah, the Bears are 24th against the run. So I think because of that, they'll do well. There's part of me that kind of likes Montgomery as well. I mean, the Vikings have struggled against the run a little bit. So I think it's going to be quite a run-heavy game. But yeah, the Vikings for me, I think will just be that little bit too strong. And they've got Justin Jefferson, haven't they? Which is the X factor. So yeah.
I think you really repeated exactly what I said. I mean, I managed to like stem it out a bit longer, but yeah, that's basically what I said. I had a sneaky feeling that you'd have a bet in this one for us, which is why I tried to hold off a little bit for this one. And I was right, you did. But yeah, we move on to the Tuesday night games. both at the same time, both midnight fixtures for us. I think it's the Seahawks versus the Rams.
Again, with both of these fixtures, it's a little bit difficult because of the COVID problems and stuff like that. The Seahawks are 32nd against the pass. They can't get any worse. They really can't. A bit like the Houston Texans with the run. So I think, obviously Cooper Kupp is going to be worth having a look at, but he's going to be really short. Maybe someone like Van Jefferson, I think, could be worth having a look at the prices when they come out. If I was judging it based on the two teams, I would say the Rams are the better team. So therefore, I would expect them to win it. But again, they've had a lot of COVID cases. I think they've had 25 people go down with COVID.
Yeah, I think, is it because at the Rams it's more like close contact and being near them, and they've got now time to, if they get 2 negative tests in a row, I think they're all good, aren't they?
I think so. I think that's what it is. So in theory, you would hope that most of them would be back. Another thing with the Seahawks, obviously, Tyler Lockett has actually got COVID. So that's going to be a big problem for them. It does kind of mean that DK Metcalf is pretty much the main guy there for that game. But at the same time, it means he's going to be marked an awful lot by the Rams defense. So, yeah, I think the Rams will probably just be too strong for him.
Because we heard the news late last night. I don't know whether you did or I did. That Odell Beckham Jr. has passed protocols now. He tested positive, didn't he? So
he did, and I think they're saying that if you have one negative test, that you're okay to play. So
2 days in a row, if you test negative, you'd be good to go. So I think we'll see a lot with the fact that this game has been moved so far forward. I think you will see more and more players coming back for this game. And I think that's massive for them. If Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been affected, like I know a lot of people over here have been quite affected this time around with illness with COVID, but if it was just one of those sort of like, tested positive, wasn't feeling too poorly, he'd be one for me to jump on the bandwagon to bet in, because Stafford seems to eye him up and target him quite a lot. So
I think like I said, any of the receivers you've got to look at. Kupp's going to be very short. So like Odell Beckham, Van Jefferson, I think they're two that are definitely worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think they're just too strong across the board, and they showed that last week. What they can actually do, whereas the Seahawks have only just started to get back to the Seahawks that we knew. I think it's too little too late. It is a divisional rivalry game. I think if Seahawks still in with a shot if they win all their games, I think.
Yeah, I think they are at the moment, but it is very much like do or die all the way now. I think if they don't get something out of this game, then it's going to be, I think they're still technically able to get through, but it's going to be very difficult, and they're going to need a lot of results to go their way. So
yeah, it's in Los Angeles, and they've got the division in touching distance now with that win last week. So I can't see the Rams taking the foot off the pedal now. I think this is them going into the playoffs and trying to build a run and a bit of consistency going in. So I'm going to stick with the Rams in this one. I think that they are too strong. Even when they bring in the players off the bench, they become household names. It's why they've always managed to do this. They bring people off the bench. They look good. They release the veterans, and you go, why have they released him? And they still produce the goods. We've seen lots of players leave recently over the last couple of years from the Rams of big names, and they're still getting it done. So especially on that defense. So I'm going to stick with the Rams. And our last fixture is the Washington football team against the Philadelphia Eagles. Both still.
Again, it's a bit of an awkward one. It's like Washington have had a lot of COVID cases. I know Taylor Heineke's got COVID, so that's a problem. I mean, the only thing I'd say, Washington are 30th against the pass. The Eagles, they haven't had any problems with COVID, so they're all pretty much fully fit. I like Dallas Goedert. I think that he's the guy that Hurts always looks to when it comes to in the passing game. So I think when the prices come out for him, that would be interesting to see what his price is. I think the Eagles would just be too strong for Washington, given the fact that Washington have got so many out with COVID. Again, I'm not sure whether they're close contacts or whether they actually have COVID, but I think a lot of them do actually have COVID in this one. So yeah, I think the Eagles will probably get it as they're at home as well.
Yeah, coming off a bye week as well, so they've had chance to rest. I think they're going to be real strong in this game. They've got everyone back. Jalen Hurts is back. All their running backs are back. Devontae Smith, obviously, started to get back to what we've seen from him in the receptions. So I think even if Washington were fully fit in this one, the way that the Eagles have played this year, I feel like they are a little bit stronger across the board for me. I know the Washington defense has started to click in recent weeks and looked a bit more impressive, but I've seen more from that Eagles offense than I have the Washington offense. So for me, I'm going to stick with the Eagles, like you say, fully healthy against a team that's not quite there yet. So I'm going to stick with the Eagles in that game. That's all the fixtures. Any big bet for us? What are we saying?
So the one that I put out earlier is James Robinson, Devontae Adams, and Dalvin Cook. So you're looking at about 11-2 for that treble. There's quite a few that are out there. I mean, I like Joe Mixon because he seems to always score. George Kittle for both the yards and the touchdown, I think, is a shout. And there are a couple of bigger ones. I think Albert Wilson there's a chance that could come off at 9-2. O'Shaughnessy for the Jags again at 9-2. I think there's a shout for that. Gronk, because Gronk scores most of the time. So I don't think there's a couple of bigger ones, but I don't think there's anything particularly massive out there. You could put a few different ones in doubles or trebles and things like that, but I mean the main one's out already. So
I'm going to have a bit of a weird one this week. I think Arsenal played quite well yesterday and had a couple of wins off of that, so I've got a bit waiting in there to have a cheeky one. So I think I'm going to have an accumulator of quarterbacks to score rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
I think I'm going to stack in Josh Allen, maybe Tua, maybe Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow. I'm gonna have a treble with three of them, I think.
Well, I look forward to seeing that come off. So
you got to stay bold in some of these bets. I just think it might be a week for rushing top scores for quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, there's always Brady as well, the old quarterback sneak. He loves the quarterback sneak. So
yeah, I mean, we've seen Tannehill get in the end zone quite a few times this year as well.
Yeah, it could happen. You never know. I'll leave that to you, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we leave the stupid stuff to me, and we stick with you for the sensible betting. So if there is people watching this to take the bets, take Adam's advice first, mine second on the betting, because I make some outrageous bets. But if they come out, quids in, great. Okay, that's all we've got time for, guys. Best of luck to all your teams this week. We will be returning on Tuesday for the main show. I'm sure we'll have something interesting and exciting to go over after the week we've had. We've got still have games to talk about, won't we? But if you are interested in our fantasy show, it went out yesterday. So if you want to catch up on that, you can find that on social media as well. But till then, best of luck, guys. See you later.